Hey!
Welcome to another episode of BAK BAK, our talk show where we talk to indie designers and artists who create J-fashion things, various things. And we talk to them about like the design process and what it's like to own a small business and all the super fun things that have to do with the economy.
The economy.
So we are here today with Julie, who runs the accessory shop Sweet Juju, which primarily carries like sweet, kind of like dessert inspired things, or like kind of just generally like really cute, adorable things. I love. It's very cool. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Julie. I use she, her pronouns. I live in New York, sort of. I've been wearing Lolita fashion for 9 years. And I feel like I've been making stuff almost as long. Even though I haven't like officially had a brand until like, I want to say 6 years ago. It's a little iffy.
That's still a pretty substantial time, though.
Yeah. It's like, I guess like when I joined Etsy is kind of like the official start of when I started getting serious about stuff.
That's so funny. We are the same Lolita age. I'm also on 9 years. I've never wanted to start a shop because I'm like, that's stressful.
Yeah, you would think that like I was in college when I started, so like I look back on it and I'm like, why did I do that to myself?
Was it maybe avoiding responsibility?
Yeah, I guess I felt like because I went to architecture school, so I had a lot of like resources for making things. Like I had access to a laser cutter and that sort of thing. So I was like, what if I made stuff? And then I just kept making stuff.
Yeah, I had when I was in college, I also had like resources to stuff, but I was like scared of asking people to use rooms, so I never did it. I was like, man, I could probably laser cut some stuff, but I don't really want to. I don't want to talk to these people.
We had like an online system where you could like book laser cutting time, like 15-minute slots at a time. But I mostly ended up just using it for like school stuff.
Yeah. But anyway, hot tip.
I never actually made like cool laser cut jewelry. It never happened.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hot tip for people in college. Use your college resources that are free.
Use the laser cutter.
Yeah, use the laser cutter. And sometimes
because once you leave college, 3D, like you're
3D
not going to get one.
Like you can learn how to do like a 3D model and like do the 3D printers, because those are at college also for freezies. Okay, we are going to hop right into the questions. So first of all, how did you discover Lolita fashion and I guess like J fashion in general?
I guess for most people who are about my Lolita age, I discovered it on Tumblr through like anime stuff. So I guess like circa 2011, I was like really active on Tumblr, and you know, everybody posts like the really aesthetic pictures, and I would see like all of the Lolita stuff and I'd be like, wow, like what if that was me? But I was like in high school at the time, so I didn't have any money, and like I also went to a school that used a uniform, so like I didn't have any reason to like buy clothes.
Yeah, how strict was your uniform?
Kind of just like a faraway dream.
Were you allowed to make your uniform like kind of kawaii, or was it like really strict?
No, it was really ugly. It was like the ugliest school uniform you can imagine. We didn't even have any plaid. What a waste.
Was it like pants?
It was a skirt and a blazer and a blouse with like a really ugly bow tie.
At least it's not like a tracksuit though. Right? That's like some people's uniforms, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you discovered Lolita like kind of in high school, but at some point, like when did you start wearing it? Like when were you able to be like, actually, I'm going to do the thing?
So like the summer after I graduated high school, I got my first like summer job, and then I got a lot of gift money for my graduation. So I was like, oh, I have money now. I can buy things. Like, what is this? This whole world has opened up. So, yeah, I ended up getting like, one of my friends had her like joint graduation / birthday party that summer, and she had it at like a tea place. So I was like, my time has come.
my Lolita debut.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
So besides Lolita, do you wear any kind of like other J fashions, or like have you dabbled?
Yeah, I also wear Fairy K. Definitely not as often as I wear Lolita. For like a while when I was in college, I would wear like Fairy K or like general like kawaii stuff as like my casual wear.
Yeah.
And I recently like started getting back into Fairy K just because I like cute stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely like cute and like maybe like sometimes a little bit more comfy.
Yeah, definitely more comfy a lot of the time because a lot of it is like really like oversized kind of stuff. And that's fun because it's just like I'm just gonna wear a giant sweater and that's my outfit.
Right. And it's still kawaii.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you've had your shop for around 6 years and you've been making stuff the entire time. When did you like kind of, how did you learn your craft and like how to make the things you did?
So I guess like when I first started with resin stuff, it was really, really like trial and error. When I first started, resin crafting wasn't nearly as big a thing as it is now, and there weren't as many resources or like types of resin or molds out there or anything. So I was basically just working with the kind of things that I could find at Michael's. So basically like the quick cast resin that clears like cures like not clear but solid white, and then I would paint them. And they weren't very good when I was first starting out because I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was just like I wanted like my vision to exist. So I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this thing.
Yeah, so you kind of immediately started like with the resin stuff.
Yeah. Which like looking back, I definitely did not do it like correctly in terms of like safety.
Yeah, but as you said, there's much more resources now than there were.
Yeah, like back then, like nobody knew that like resin was bad for you and you had to like wear gloves and stuff. It was just like, look at this cool thing you can buy at the store and pour together and it turns into a solid thing. And then it was like, oh, actually, like you should like protect yourself when you do this.
Well, you're fine now.
I'm fine now. Yeah, I haven't died yet.
Yeah. And you also have previously given a resin panel where you teach people safety.
Yeah.
Which everyone can find on YouTube.
Yes.
And so you were making these things. At what point did you want to start a brand? And is there any differences like from when you started and like how you run your business from like back then and like how you run your business now?
I guess like when I first started making things, at first I was just making things that I was like, oh, like what if I made this? That would be cute. But I felt like going right into it, I was like, I could sell these things because like I was in college and I didn't have money. So I was like, I need money. Because if I didn't have any income, then I couldn't like keep making stuff. So I was like, if I sell things, then I will have more money to buy materials to make more things. So that's kind of the way that I approached it. Again, looking back, like that probably wasn't the right approach. Like I definitely should have like honed my craft a little more before trying to sell things. Because when I first started out, my stuff wasn't very refined, I'll say. And trying to sell things was really difficult because it wasn't like super good, so nobody would buy anything, and I would get like really discouraged because like I was like, oh, nobody likes my stuff. But yeah, like I also feel that like because I just like kept doing it, I don't know how I like kept doing it while I was in college, but I just kept at it until like I, started to become better and like have more refined stuff and, better ideas and, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's, obviously, if you're just starting out as a brand, people aren't going to be like, there's always going to be improvement from there on out. So
Right. Yeah.
that's to be expected, I should think.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're learning like how to get better along the way, then that's just, that just makes your brand like better. Right. So,
Yeah.
And you've continued doing it, even though you have a job now.
Yeah. I'm a real adult now. So.
Okay, so we're moving on to the fun questions. I don't know if these are actually fun, but they're just in a different section. Are there any ideas that you had on the back burner that you've been dying to produce next and you couldn't for any reason?
I have like a whole list of things that I've wanted to make for like ever. I get ideas like sometimes I just get struck with an idea like what if I made this thing, and other times as I'm looking at materials to get for other projects, I see something else come up and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I want to try and make something happen with that. And then just get ideas. And then I end up like accumulating the materials and then being like, okay, eventually I'm going to make that. And then my list just keeps growing.
So it's more of like a time restraint, or would you say like, is there ever a thing where it's like, man, I wish I could make this, but I don't have like the resources or the knowledge right now?
A lot of it is just like I don't have the time to make all of the things that I want to make. Resin is very time consuming, and it takes time to really like get just one project off the ground because of the time it takes to like cure the resin from start to finish. Like actually doing the work, takes like a moderate amount of time, but then you have to leave it for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then you just have to sit there and be like, okay, it'll be done eventually.
Oh, also, like now that I think of it, you do stuff besides resin. You make like kind of like wrist cuffs and like head bows and like head accessories that are like more fabric based.
Cuffs. That's like the one thing that I just like have never made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I make like bows with like ribbon and also like sewing with fabric, like head bows and also like smaller bow clips. I make head dresses, like rectangle head dresses. And I also recently started making face masks.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I was thinking like, you said you started with resin, but like, did you kind of just add in sewing things along the way, or?
I felt like, I wanted to expand to be able to offer more things than just jewelry. I really wanted to be like jewelry and accessories. But the sewing didn't really come until later. Like, because I didn't know how to sew when I first started out, and I like had no idea how to even get started.
So are you like self-taught?
One summer I took sewing classes from a local seamstress just to learn like the basics of how to use a sewing machine and how to read patterns and that sort of thing. And then after I felt like I kind of learned the basics of like sewing in a straight line and like putting two things together and turning it inside out, then I felt like I was ready to like start making stuff outside of just the sewing class. So I started making just some like simple bows, which are pretty easy because it's just a rectangle with another rectangle wrapped around it.
Yeah, but they're super usable. You can wear them like wherever. So
yeah,
versatile. Who are some of your other favorite indie designers? Is there anyone you like really love working with, or you would want to work with in the future?
So Lulu Van Hoogland is one of my good friends, actually. And we shared a table at a con recently. And we technically had a collab already where she made a pin design that I like kind of had some input in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also like my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were really cute.
And so we have been talking for like a while about like, oh, we should do like a real collab, like design something together. Since she does embroidery now, we were talking about doing something with that. Nothing concrete yet, but we really want to make it happen. So
yeah. So everybody look out for
Lulu and Juju collab.
I love it. Can you please use that as the branding?
Yeah, like you have no idea how thrilled I am that our names like match in that way.
Yeah, because it would be like, you know, like the name and then there'd be like the X and everyone uses that for collabs. So cute. I love it. And also the next question is, appropriately, you've been able to attend a convention to Vend recently. How was the experience of going back to Vend in person? Like, was it weird? Was it like to be expected? And what are you looking forward to participating in kind of later down the
line? It was like crazy, like all over the place, because I hadn't done an in-person event in like 2 years. And preparing for in-person events is a lot different than preparing for an online release, because like I want to make like one of everything, or like 1 or 2 or 3 of everything, and so that I have like everything to fill up my table. So I was just like mad rush, like making as much stuff as I could for like the 2 months leading up to it. And then like being at the con is like, you know, you got to be there the whole time, like all day, 3 days in a row. So it's totally different from like what I have been doing while just being quarantined and making stuff for releases, like, you know, as I make them, and then, you know, whatever. But it was a ton of fun. Like I was so excited to be back at a con, and it was just like really like exciting, and like I felt really inspired and energized to like continue to make stuff after being there. So I'm like excited that cons are happening again.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was wearing masks, and, you know, I started making masks to sell them at the con, and they did really well. I sold out of masks.
Nice. Perfect. Love that.
which was great. I was like, thank you for buying masks and wearing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely like it's on a whole other scale from doing online stuff. And recently, like, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, I found out that I got accepted to Anime NYC.
Yeah.
So I will be vending there. I will have my own table this time, which is exciting. When I did Otakon, Lulu and I shared a table, but this time I'll be all on my own. So now I got to fill up a whole table by myself. Oh my god, my necklace just fell off. That's cool. Oh, no. I got too excited.
Yeah. But yeah, I heard that NYC, like, people usually do very well there. So hopefully you'll just,
like, I did it once in 2018, and I did really well. Like at the time, it was the best I had ever done at a convention. Yeah. And also, like, it's close to home, so it's not like a whole big to do, you know, like spending the whole day traveling to get there or anything like that. And then, you know, like everybody I know from the area comes to that con, so I see a lot of friends, and that's always exciting.
Yeah, because I know that, like, you know, when we have virtual events, one of the like the main focus, like initially going into it, was like we want to be able to have like indie sellers like have some kind of outlet, like during not being able to do things in person, like to sell things. But there's nothing really quite like being able to like see something in person and just like purchase it, right?
Yeah, and I feel like a big thing that I really enjoy about conventions is, you know, just seeing like the look on people's faces when they see something that they really like, and they're like, wow, I love this, and then it just makes you, oh.
Yeah, like you see someone like buy something, and then later you like see them like walking around and they're already wearing it.
Yeah, like when I sold the masks at Otakon, like throughout the weekend I saw people walking by wearing them, and I was like,
yeah, which is good, and we love to hear it.
Yeah.
So completely unrelated question. During your last panel, when you did the resin crafting panel, you talked a lot about pizza.
Yes.
So on the topic like food, do you have any other favorite foods that like you want to talk about or you want to share with us?
Yes. I have very strong food opinions. Especially when it comes to Italian food, I'm very like pedantic about it. Like, you know, I have feelings about certain pizza toppings.
Okay.
And then like I have feelings about like, you know, jar sauce. Like I don't like jar sauce. I have to make it myself. But aside from that, I also really love curry.
Yes.
There is a curry restaurant in New York City called Abiko Curry, and I am obsessed with that place. Like, according to Google Maps, I've been there over 50 times. And I just like keep going back because it's like so good. And like, you know, I go there with my friends and we have a good time. Like whenever we have like a meet in the city and you know, we go have like, you know, tea or whatever and take cute photos and be like, okay, now it's time to go to Abiko Curry.
Yeah. The last time I traveled before pandemic was to
Oh, that's right. You came to New York and we went to Abiko.
It was like a week before everything shut down.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, yeah, that curry was really good. So it's really worth it.
Yeah. Come to New York just for Abiko.
Yeah. And besides that, you guys also take a lot of pictures at like specific tea places kind of in the area as well, right?
Yeah, there's a couple places we really like. There's Maribel, which is like a chocolate shop, and they also have a little they call it the cacao bar, and that's like their little cafe in the back, and they have tea service and you can order like desserts and, you know, tea, or they also have like hot chocolate and frozen hot chocolate, which is really good. And we like going there because we always go there and we wear like chocolate themed outfits and the staff like loves it. So we like Maribel. There's a place out on Long Island that we like also called Robinson's, which we like because they give you a ton of food for like a really reasonable price. And it's like bottomless tea, so you can keep ordering the tea.
And also when I've seen pictures of that place, it looks so cute.
It's really cute on the inside too. And they just redid it, so they put like a flower wall that you can take pictures of, and it has like neon, you know, Robinson's tea.
And if there's a flower wall, it's illegal to not take a picture. That's just the law, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like now when we go there, it's like, okay, I gotta get a picture in front of the flower wall.
Right, otherwise someone will come and like arrest you. That's
what it's there for.
Yeah, but it looks really cute, and every time I see it, I'm like, man, I wish I could be there.
Yeah, it's kind of a trek for most of us, but it's so worth it. The food is like so delicious, and you get a ton of food, so like you end up taking some home, and then like the next day you're like, I get to still eat Robinson's. Like I still have like 3 sandwiches and a scone left over because they give you that much food.
Oh, speaking of chocolate, like last year you did a chocolate. What was it, like November or something?
I did a thing on like just on my personal Instagram because at the time like it felt like chocolate Lolita was dying because there hadn't been a chocolate release in forever. So I was like, what if all November I wore only chocolate and I made it like a thing. So I called it Chocovember, and I came up with like a couple like really vague prompts for it, just to be like, you know, here's something to inspire you if you also want to wear chocolate this November. So that was fun. I mean, I only really expected like me and like a couple of my friends to do it, but like other random people like also did it and tagged me, and I was like, that was really exciting. And then like a month later, Angelic Pretty announced a new chocolate release, and I was like, I summoned this.
You brought you single-handedly,
and then Baby came out with a chocolate print, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I single-handedly brought back chocolate.
You made it happen. Wait, was it also during that time where they also re-released melty ribbon chocolate?
Yeah.
I remember there's a big thing in the
like suddenly chocolate was back, and I was like,
So do you think you're gonna kind of like do another chocolate thing this year?
Yeah, I was thinking of it like, let's just keep wearing chocolate. Like, let's make November Chocovember every year.
Yes.
I mean, like, I
support
feel like almost half of my wardrobe is chocolate themed. I'm wearing
Mhm.
chocolate theme right now, so it's not like I really have to like actively try that hard.
Yeah, still, it's a very cute theme, and I don't own any chocolate, but I did see that there was like a Taobao brand that did a jacquard chocolate print, but it's like
Mhm.
all in black, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, they came out with a couple interesting colors.
mhm.
I ended up getting the skirt in the brown color. I haven't like received it yet. But they had like the black, and then they had like a matcha green chocolate, which looked really interesting.
Yeah,
It's a color you don't really see often in Lolita.
and like
It wasn't
I
like
guess
mint, it was like matcha green.
yeah, I guess if it were like to eat, I would probably always choose matcha for
Yeah,
food.
I love matcha.
And still on the topic of foods,
My
you've
favorite subject.
you've also made you've made with your bare hands a bunch of really, really beautiful tea spreads for like the virtual tea parties. Is this something that you
Mhm.
regularly do as like a hobby, or like at what point were you like, man, I'm just gonna make all the very beautiful things?
Yeah, I mean, I always really love to bake.
Mhm,
I like every year for Christmas, I bake a ton of different kinds of Christmas cookies.
mhm,
So cookies are really like my forte. But then I was like, what if I learned how to make like scones? I had never made scones before.
mhm.
And then the first time I made them, they were like awful. And I was like, what did I do wrong? They came out like pancakes. I was like, what is this? Um, and then I learned that scones are actually more like pastry than they are like cake. So you have to use
Mhm,
like ice cold butter and like cut it into the flour.
mhm,
And then suddenly I made scones and they were good. And I was like, oh, okay. I make
mhm.
scones now.
Yeah. Wait, did you also
um,
like make like clotted cream to go with?
yeah, I tried making clotted cream for the very first time. And it came out pretty good, but it took like literally all day,
Oh my gosh.
which I was not expecting. Yeah, you have to put the cream in the oven at a low temperature for like 10 hours. And that's how you get clotted cream.
Oh, I I feel like I feel like what we've learned in this time is that you have a lot of patience because you can wait for
I
the
do not
resin
have a lot
to
of patience. I
you're like,
have
I'm gonna
zero
wait for the
patience. I'm the most impatient person you have ever met in your life.
I'm gonna wait for this clotted cream for 10 hours.
No, like because the recipe that I followed said 6 hours.
Mhm.
So then I was just like, okay. And then 6 hours came by and I was like, it's not doing the thing. And then I literally just was like sitting around, like checking the oven every 20 minutes, like, is it ready yet?
Yeah, well, you know what they say, a watched cream never clots. That's the saying.
Yeah. It eventually did do the thing, but it was like 11 o'clock. And I was like, I'm so tired. And
Yeah,
like when you have something in the oven, you're like, I can't do anything else for the rest of the day because something is in the oven. And
right.
that's like my whole day.
Mhm. Yeah, because like, what are you gonna do? Like, walk away, and it's what would happen?
Right. Like the
Would
second
it
that you walk away, the
explode?
oven just like explodes into flames. So like
Yeah,
I can't go anywhere or do anything because I
yeah.
have the oven on.
Yeah. Also, kind of speaking about food, and not that this is on like the question list, so you it's unexpected.
That's fine.
Um, but I remember back kind of in like 2011, 2012, where there are more kind of like polymer food trends and like the
Mhm.
decadent kind of things. Um, did you ever kind of make those kinds of things and like transition into other kind of food trends like that you're doing now, or like what has changed in terms of like just specifically food jewelry for like sweet lolitas?
Yeah, like Decodin was a really big thing when I first started making stuff.
Mhm,
So that was kind of where I got a lot of my inspiration from because I was like, oh, this is like the thing. Like I gotta have myself covered in lollipops and little, candies and chocolate bars and
mhm,
stuff. And I remember I ordered like one set of like, they give you like a random mix of capuchons and you put them on your cell phone case.
mhm,
Um, but I didn't do it with like the whipped cream. I just kind of like glued them on and it looked
mhm.
terrible. So I was like, I hate this. um, but yeah, the Decodent like it wasn't really a thing for a while, but now I feel like now that Taobao is like really coming onto the scene and like having a lot of influence,
Mm-hmm.
they do a lot of you could buy an accessory that is just like it comes already covered in like random candy cabochons. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess Decodin is back. Like,
Right. Because it kind of goes along with the whole like revival of like
yeah,
kind of earlier OTT suite.
yeah, yeah. Like
So
pastel vomit OTT suite kind of made a
Mhm.
comeback during quarantine.
Right.
And I hope it stays, but not in the way that it makes everything really expensive secondhand. Just like, let's all keep wearing it, but not charge $500 for an old dress.
People have to stop buying things for like $500. Y'all, please stop.
Well, then it becomes difficult because people are like, well, this is how much I paid for it. So, like, I want my money back. And then it, like,
Yeah.
I am content with the amount of dresses that I have now. So I'm like, okay, you guys just do your own thing, you know?
Yeah. Every time I see one of those like super high bids on like one of those like kind of older sweet dresses, I'm like, man, are the sweets okay?
We're not okay.
Yeah. But you see the same thing for like old Moitié right now. So I'm like, the goths aren't doing okay either.
Yeah,
The only
none of us are
people
doing okay. The only people who are doing okay are classics because,
classics.
like, nobody's looking at classics right now.
Mhm. I'm like, this is a great time to buy Victorian Maiden.
Yeah, I mean, like, Victorian Maiden and Innocent World stuff is going for like $80 on Lace Market. Like,
Yep.
go get you some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, so we have more semi-serious questions that are business related. So what would you say are your struggles when it comes to being an indie designer or like a brand owner, running a business?
There are a lot of struggles. Like, everything from in terms of, like, how do I run a business? Like, what am I doing? And also, like, the creative struggle side of it, of like,
Mhm.
is what I'm making even good? Like, are people gonna like this? Do I like it? Um, I feel like a lot of times, like, the struggle really like starts to get to my head, like when I'm preparing for an event, because I'm
Mhm.
working a lot, really hard, and I'm not sleeping as much. And then, when you're in that state, you start to like have a lot of doubts. You're like, why am I doing this? Like, what if I just stop doing this? But then, like, once I get to the event and, people actually like the stuff that I made, and I, like meeting people that, also enjoy Lolita fashion, and then I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember why I do this.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's, and also, like, as a creative person, you tend to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
You look at what other people have made and you're like, wow, like, they're doing it and they're doing so much better than me. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not doing that well? Like, and in some ways it's kind of just like you have to just ignore that feeling, but in
Mhm.
other ways that feeling helps you improve and, recognize like where your weaknesses are. And, you know, um, like, one thing that I noticed, which is like a really small thing, but it makes such a big difference,
Mhm.
is how good photos you take of your stuff.
Yes.
And like, I realized that like when I started like really paying attention to like how good my photos look online,
Mhm.
like, it makes everything seem so much nicer and more
Mhm.
appealing, as opposed to like I just took like a poorly lit cell phone picture of this thing like haphazardly thrown on my table. Like, people look
Mhm.
at that and they're like, what is that? Like, I don't care about that.
Yeah,
But like,
I've
if I
noticed that your
actually
photos
take
are
the
very
time to
good.
like, if I take the time to like, put it on like a white background and like take a nice, well lit photo and like edit the colors a little bit so it looks like really vibrant, then it's like, oh, like, suddenly that looks really good and like
Mhm.
appealing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just like one of those things where, you have to like compare yourself to people a little bit, otherwise like you're never going to get out of like the hole of just
Yeah.
It's like a weird balance that you have to strike of like, you know, look at what other people are doing and take notes, but also like don't beat yourself up because you're not doing it the way that they are, because everybody does it differently, you know. Something I find that I struggle with sometimes is like making my products stand out, because like my whole brand image from the get-go was like I want to make things that are like basic and versatile and like, you know, the kind of thing that you get it and that's like, you know, that is your thing, that is that thing that you wear all the time. So when I make really basic things, I'm like, how do I make this like, you know, this is the red head bow that you must own, like this is it. You know, so it's like there's so many other people who have made red head bows, but it's like, but here's one that you can buy right now, and then you don't have to be like, I just need a red head bow, you know. Like, so it's kind of like, you know, other people make things that are like really unique and like special, and you know, it's like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. Like everybody's seen a head bow before, so it's like, it's something that I'm kind of like, you know, how do I make this like appealing, you know, and make it stand out. And it's something I continue to struggle with, but I feel like more recently I've really leaned harder into like, I make stuff that is meant to be basic and versatile and continuously wearable, and that's like what I want people to get out of it. Like I, you know, admire the, you know, gorgeous, unique things that other people make, but that's not what I do. I make things that I'm like, I'm going to wear this all the time. This is the thing that I'm going to wear all the time. That's what I hope other people get out of it too.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
I
something
that
I've noticed.
My red head bow becomes the red head bow, you know?
You know, because like I make those like kind of collages every event for like all the different like indie pieces where I'm like, here's an outfit that you could wear, that like, you know, whatever. And sometimes it's like, because I want to make collages that are like all the different indie designers, I have to like pull images that I think will go well together for you know, like a themed kind of style or something to like make it make sense. And I've noticed that I do continuously go back to your stuff because I'm like, oh man, I could just like throw on like this head bow and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like that works for this chord. It like makes sense because you can just put it on.
That makes me happy. That's like that's like, you know, my goal is to like have things that just like complete the look. Like just, what if I just had that one thing that's just like makes it work? And that's hopefully what people get out of the stuff that I make. Because that's why I started making stuff in the first place. I was like, I need like a chocolate necklace. Like, why is no one making a chocolate necklace? You know, why can't I just have a chocolate necklace? So I made one.
Yeah, and even so, like, you know, even with all that, I still think like, you know, your items are unique in that they speak to like, you know, what your design aesthetic is and that kind of thing. You know, like it's your vision, so that's what makes it unique.
Right.
Oh, and also kind of going back to like struggling with like self-doubt like before events, would you say that that's something that has gotten better over time?
I think so. I mean, you know, the numbers don't lie. Like when I have good sales, it's a lot more reassuring than like a convention being a total flop. But sometimes, you know, it's not your fault. Like sometimes the convention just isn't good. You know, sometimes
it's the convention.
Sometimes there's not a lot of people there, and the people who are there aren't your target audience. So it's nothing that you did. It's just the convention was just a flop, and it wasn't anything, you know, there wasn't anything you could have done differently. It just happens sometimes.
If you could tell one thing to someone who is interested in like starting their own business, what advice would you give them?
wait until you're out of college to start selling things. Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like, there's a lot of like legal stuff involved, and I still don't understand all of it.
Mhm.
You know, like all of the things that you have to register and, you know, get licenses and all the tax stuff.
Mhm.
Like look into that before you even get started. And then when you do get started, hire somebody to take care of your taxes for you because you know, like they say, like when you're just an individual filing, you know, your W-2 from like a regular job, you can kind of figure out how to do that yourself. But once you have that and then you have your own small business on top of it, and you have to start, you know, logging your expenses and things like that, it starts to become really convoluted when you have multiple sources of income and like, you know, you have all of this crazy stuff. Like just hire somebody to do it for you.
Yeah, because I also heard that it's especially difficult, like in New York.
Yeah.
Because I remember
Another thing that's kind of weird is that when you sell on Etsy, they take care of state taxes for you.
Mhm.
But when you go and sell at an event in person, you have to have like a state tax license and file the taxes that you collected while you were in that state making sales. And it's like different somehow. And every state has its own rules.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they're all over the place. Like for Connecticut, it's like you have to pay $100 and you have a license for 5 years. And then in other states, it's like you register for free and you have a license forever. And it's like,
yeah. So I guess like on the positive side of like being able to do like, you know, sell things online, at least it's all just in your own state.
yeah. It's weird because like every state has its own tax rate and tax laws and like ways that you go about filing them. And for like the majority of states, Etsy will take care of it for you. And then for, you know, some of them, it's like you just have to figure it out on your own. And like there's no like one resource that's like, oh, just read this one, you know, book and it will tell you everything you need to know. Like I feel like nobody knows what they're doing when it comes to taxes because like we're all just like asking each other questions and we're like, oh, you have to do it like that. I didn't know that. And like I feel like sometimes I see memes about you know, people who run small businesses and the things that we have to deal with. And it's like, I think I'm committing tax fraud, but I'm not sure. It's probably fine, but you know.
At what point, like kind of in your like, I guess, business journey were you like, wait a second? Like, did you know from the beginning that you would need to deal with all this stuff? Or did you
No,
like kind
I
of
had
go
no
into it and you're
idea.
like, oh, state taxes.
Yeah,
like,
I had no idea that like it was even a thing I had to consider. Like, because when I first started out and like selling things, you know, I made like, you know, a couple $100s a year. So I was like, that's not enough money to really like even worry about it. I didn't really consider myself a business, which, you know, you kind of have to start considering yourself a business as soon as you start selling things under like your own brand name and not just like, you know, like you can sell things secondhand on Lace Market, for example, and that doesn't really count as like actual income because it's like, you know, hobby selling, I guess. But
well,
once
that might
you
change, I think. And maybe it's just a California thing. I don't remember if it's a federal thing or a
Yeah.
state thing, but I did hear that that was going to change.
Yeah, I think that they created like a threshold. Like if you make like over a certain amount of money, then it's like you have to start paying taxes on it, which sucks.
Yeah, like if you're a person who sells a lot, if you like buy and sell a lot in like lace markets, you just want to wear different dresses, then it's like that's not like a business. That's just a changing wardrobe.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all so confusing. And then like, you know, they started doing that thing with VAT for selling to the UK.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what they're doing when it comes to that.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people like just they're like, we can't sell to the UK anymore.
Yeah.
We can't.
That's one of those things that Etsy takes care of that for you. So now like everybody is going back to Etsy just for their UK customers. And it's like just one of those things that it's like Etsy is both good and bad because they like take care of all this cool stuff for you, but they're also like evil and you can never leave.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everybody wants to be able to have their own website and their own like dedicated shop platform, but Etsy makes it so much more convenient. There's a lot of things that you just don't even have to worry about when you're on there, and plus they bring in a lot of traffic. So you don't have to worry about promoting yourself as much. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm on Etsy forever.
Yeah, because you started on Etsy, right? And
I started on Store Envy, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on Store Envy for like a year-ish. But Store Envy doesn't really drive traffic to you as much as Etsy does. Like, they have their marketplace, but I feel like it was never the kind of place that people will go to looking for the kind of things that I sell. I felt like at the time when I was like really starting to get serious, Etsy was like the place that you went to for like lolita indie brands. So I was like, okay, I guess I gotta go to Etsy.
I definitely think that people like go to Etsy just randomly to search for things a lot more. If you're going to like a store, it's because you already knew the storefront.
Right. And that's like how I end up getting a lot of my traffic. Like, it gives you the stats and it says Etsy brings in like 70% of my customers. So it's like, you know, that's great, but it's also like, you know, you feel like you can't leave because you'll lose 70% of your customer base.
Which
hold on, I'm gonna plug in my computer. I didn't realize it wasn't plugged in. Okay.
So like, would you ever consider like getting your own website and like storefront, or do you think like right now, like
I really don't think it's in the cards for me, just because of like all of the things that I mentioned before. Like, Etsy makes so many things so much more convenient. And they bring in so much traffic, and Etsy experienced like a huge boom during the pandemic when, you know, you couldn't get like a regular face mask. You could only get like the ones that people were making and selling on Etsy. So then Etsy became this like big force in e-commerce because they experienced such a huge boom after that. And it like hasn't gone down since then, really. They're still like, now they're a powerhouse. And it's like, okay, like, if you're not on Etsy, like, what are you doing? You know?
I feel like people are just sitting at home being like, what can I buy online? Let's go to Etsy.
I feel like I myself experienced like a boom in sales like during the pandemic. And the way that Etsy works also is that whenever you sell something, it refreshes that listing and bumps it to the top of search results. So like, the more that you sell, the more that you sell. So it's like, okay, I guess, like, I mean, they do most of the work for me, so like, thanks.
And also with like kind of, I think also a bunch of lolitas started during pandemic was also a thing. They're like, we're getting into it.
There was definitely like a big surge of people starting to get into lolita during the pandemic, because it's like, you're stuck at home and you've got nothing to do. Maybe a lot of people started getting, you know, like stimulus checks and unemployment bonuses, and they're like, I have money to burn and nothing to do, so let's go.
Like, may as well look cute, right? Like,
yeah. I'm kind of interested to see how that pans out as things are kind of not really becoming normal again, but you know, the sun is starting to peek through the clouds a little bit in terms of like things being normalish. And you know, I'm curious to see how like those people who are only wearing lolita at home will start to like integrate themselves into the, you know, in-person communities and meetups and that sort of thing. I'm sure that there will be some interesting situations where people who have supposedly been wearing lolita for a year are actually going out and wearing it to a meet for the first time, and it's like, welcome to the community.
I for the last event I did a panel at, which I think was Paradiso, Emma and I did a panel that was called how to attend a J Fashion meetup. Because I was like, these people have never been to a meetup. They don't do they know how to do it? Like,
It's definitely different from like, you know, regularly going out with like people you already know. And,
Yeah.
you know, like you go out with your friends and that's like one thing, but going to a meetup, like, and you're new to the fashion, you don't know anybody and you don't know like, you don't know anything. Like you just
Yeah.
go there and you sit with a bunch of strangers and you eat food and it's like, so the thing that we have in common is that we all like these weird clothes. Like,
Yeah.
so what's up?
Yeah, and I think there's also a bunch of like unspoken rules that we've just gotten used to when it's like a official meetup. Like, oh, like how do you split the money? Like, you know, can you
Yeah.
ask for car rides? Like, there's a bunch of like etiquette rules that I'm like, are they like they're unspoken, but also if you have never gone to these things, like, would you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember when I was first starting out, like one of the first meetups I went to was like at somebody's house.
yeah.
And then it was like, how do I get there? And like, you know, what do I do? Like,
Yeah. Those are
like
definitely
nowadays, like people like, I feel like it's not as common to like go to meetups at somebody's house because like, I don't know.
Safety,
That used to be just like
safety reasons.
that used to be just like where you would go to meetups. Like somebody was having a thing at their house.
You know, one time I had someone in my comm had just purchased or not purchased, like they had a house that was empty. They were moving into a house, but it hadn't had any furniture in it yet. So they hosted a swap meet that was just like the entire house was just filled with like lolita stuff because there was like
Oh, that's
room
pretty
for
cool.
it.
Yeah.
So like it was like one room like ended up having all the goth stuff, and then like you just had like racks and racks and racks in the living room. It was very cool.
That was pretty cool. I miss swap meets. That's
Me
like
too.
you can't really recreate that online because
Mhm.
like the reason that I haven't gotten rid of a lot of my old stuff is because I am too lazy to take pictures of it and list it online. But with
Yep.
swap meets, you can just bring a bag full of stuff and be
Mhm.
like, "Do you want this for $2?"
Yeah. Like I was trying to think about like how would you even do a swap meet like virtually? It would be like going on like a group chat and be like and holding stuff up and be
Yeah,
like, does anyone
basically.
want this? But even then you have to like either meet up like later on or like ship it, and then like it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm also very excited for swap beats to be a thing in the future.
Yes.
Speaking of the future, what are your plans as like a brand going forward? Like,
I have a bunch of things on my list of things that I want to make in the future, which, you know, I mentioned earlier. I'm really excited to start making Halloween stuff for Granbury. I have a lot of really cool ideas and some new techniques that I'm going to be trying. So look forward to that. And also, as we talked about with November being the month of chocolate, I decided
officially.
it's happening.
Yep.
I'm also going to be making a couple more chocolate themed things to add to the shop.
Nice.
So that will be exciting too.
Mhm.
I already plan on wearing like all chocolate to Anime NYC because it's in November. So,
Yep.
you know, got to stay on theme.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Halloween stuff, chocolate stuff, definitely coming. In terms of other stuff, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I think I did a lot of work to like grow and expand and refine what I was doing during quarantine, and I feel like I am pretty happy with where I ended up. So I'm just gonna, you know, keep at it like where I am right now. I don't think I'm gonna expand any further because I also have another job, and you know, I only have so much time on my hands. And as much as I love creating, I also love sleeping.
Yeah. Like I think that's the thing about I guess like having like a second job, or you know that's more of like kind of more hobby based, is like, you know, obviously everyone's like, oh, you don't have to capitalize on your hobby, but also if you decide to, you don't necessarily have to like keep growing, right? You can
Yeah.
just do it for fun and also make money at the same time.
Right. Like I kind of explain it to people that it's like a hobby that pays for itself. Because, you know, like making things and then selling them enables me to keep making things.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I do make like a little bit of extra, but it's definitely not enough to like sustain me full time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly just, you know, I do it because I love making things. Well, I don't like making things. I like having made something.
The end result.
Like when I'm actually working, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like this, especially like, I feel like a lot of times, like when I'm sewing, like sewing machines are like printers. Like they just sometimes decide to not
Yep.
work correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm sewing and I'm like in a crunch and my machine starts to like be finicky for no reason, I'm like, what if I just threw this out the window? Like I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But then, you know, when I'm done and I have my stuff that I made, I'm like, yeah, I made this and it's awesome. Yay. I love making things.
Yeah. Yeah. Sewing machines are definitely another thing. It's like, oh, that senses fear and also urgency.
They sense fear.
Yeah. Okay, so those are kind of all the questions I had prepared. I don't know if anyone in the audience has questions, or if you have any last thoughts, uh, or things that you want to say. Doesn't have to be brand related, you know. um, yeah. I'm not seeing many questions in here, but we are getting comments about chocolate, so that's good.
Chocolate is good. Chocolate is the
Yeah.
best subject. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of mint in my wardrobe. I think I have like 2 mint dresses that qualify as chocolate dresses.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I keep wanting to make things that are like mint chocolate, but what I find when I make stuff is that mint is usually like the least popular color whenever I offer it,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad. Um, Mint is a good color.
It
It
is, yeah.
really like mint was really popular in like normie fashion when I was first starting out, so it was really easy to
Yeah.
find mint accessories at like Forever 21.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess mint kind of, you know, the mint days are over.
Yeah, because during that time was kind of where it was like the creepy cute era. So people were like pairing mint a lot with like lavender, I want to
Yeah,
say, like kind of that vibe.
yeah, yeah. It was mint, and then like mint died, and then it became like millennial pink. And
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of chocolate though, like what are your favorite colorways?
I love pink. Pink and chocolate is just like such a good combo. I recently discovered the joys that are pink and brown and red,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
which I started experimenting with like around Valentine's Day, and I'm like, wow, like red is good. Like, let's bring more red into chocolate. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes
You
me
know, like
think like
cherries and
pink.
strawberries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I yeah, I started like adding red to my chocolate coordinates, and now I'm like, wow, this is good actually.
Yeah. You're never gonna stop now.
And I also like ivory,
Mm-hmm.
just because I feel like it works well as a like neutral
Mm-hmm.
with chocolate.
Yeah. But in your opinion, is white chocolate like a real chocolate?
It comes from the cacao bean, so like
Mm-hmm.
it is chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not like actually part of the bean, it's like from like the outside of the bean. It's
Mm-hmm.
still from cacao, so I think it still counts as chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
personally.
Oh, have you been able to try like the ruby chocolate?
Yes, I have tried ruby chocolate, and it is so good. It's
Mm-hmm.
really good. If you can find it, try it. It's
Yeah,
like,
they made like a Kit Kat even, I think.
oh really?
I think so, yeah. Like, I'm
I
not
don't know
sure we
about a
got.
ruby like that, but I just tried it from like a like local chocolatier that had it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really good. It has like kind of a like fruity notes to it. Like it makes you think of like raspberry flavor
Mm-hmm.
almost.
Yeah.
But it's like it doesn't have any fruit flavor in it. It's just natural.
It's just from the bean, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think we've been at this for an hour. I don't think there's questions in the chat, so I think that's it for this interview. Thank you for sharing your chocolate tips.
Thank you for having me and for letting me talk so much about food, because it's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, mostly I wanted to do this to hear you talk about snacks. It's very exciting.
Yes. Speaking of food.
Yes.
I am going to make cheese themed things. I remember I said it at like my panel in like February, and I talked about how when resin comes out bad, it looks like cheese. I'm actually going to make cheese, but like good cheese, not like resin came out bad cheese.
Okay.
Savory Juju, it's happening.
I was gonna like dare you to make like a blue cheese thing, but I don't know if that would sell. So, like, you know, like it'd be like moldy cheese, like a. I do really like blue cheese though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I only really go for blue cheese if I need like a dip for like wings. I prefer blue cheese over ranch, but other than that, blue cheese is like not on my radar.
I'm thinking of ways to do a socially distant like cheese meat. we used to have cheese meats like back in the day when pre-COVID days, where everyone would just like bring cheese and we would just snack on it in a park, and it was just like
that sounds ideal.
It was amazing. Like there were like just like there was like tables of cheese, but there was too much cheese to contain on the tables. So like you just see like cheese islands like popping up on the picnic blankets.
I love that.
And like people would obviously bring wine, so you're just basically like getting day drunk in the park eating cheese.
That sounds like my ideal meat.
Yeah, cheese. So yeah, if you make a cheese you know, collection, that's perfect for
cheese is happening. Savory Juju.
Are you gonna like redo your logo?
I mean, I thought about like jokingly calling it Savory Juju. I feel like that's one of those things that like only I think it's funny.
Honestly though, like I feel like being in charge of your own stuff gives you the license to make jokes that only you think are funny.
Yeah, like writing like item names and item descriptions and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm hilarious. And like nobody else thinks it's funny but me.
Most of the event things that we've done, it's like it's because it's a pun, you guys. You get it?
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, like when you did what was it? When you did Ursa Major, there was like somebody made a really good bear pun.
Oh, was it the Ursa
Cunha? Yeah.
that was so good. My favorite. I was like, I'm a fucking genius. It's so layered. But yeah, basically everything's like just an excuse to make stupid jokes, and I'm here for it. And being a brand owner also makes
one person laughs at that joke, then I have succeeded.
Yeah, like you can make your own jokes, and that is the pro of owning your own business.
Yeah, definitely.
Then people have to see it.
Yeah, I am subjecting everyone to my terrible sense of humor.
Okay, so I think we should probably actually go now. I got distracted again, but thank you so much for
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you know, we will see you at Grammary with cute Halloween things, which I'm very excited for.
I am very excited for it.
Okay, so yeah, bye guys.
Bye.